what I was living like before, I really kind of felt like I was living in my own personal version of hell, And when I thought like, oh, why do I feel so bad? Well, it's because I was living in this toxic negative cycle, and it really took a lot of effort and work to get out of that. But like now that I am on the other side, the
Hello, Tania. Good morning. How are you doing?
good morning, I'm well.
Good to see you. Appreciate you waking up early. Well, I'm saying good morning, but you have done already so many things today, so exercising and
That's
all
good.
that. So good job.
Yay. Trying to get
Uh,
back on track with that. It's one of those negative cycles I'm working on breaking, and exercise is beautiful to help with it. So,
Amazing. And we're going to talk today about all those negative cycles that we all have. And many times people, when it comes to exercise, have all these negative cycles that stop them from going and exercising because maybe like you just now said, let's go exercise. That can help us break the negative cycle. But when I'm in a negative cycle, I don't want to exercise. Like I couldn't care less about exercise. So first, if you could explain more about what you do, how you help mainly women, but how you help people break their negative cycle, empower themselves, love themselves. And then if you could explain like what are those negative cycles and what can we do in order to move them aside or maybe use them to move forward and grow.
all right. Well, like you said, I'm Tanya, and I'm trying to help women feel empowered by breaking negative cycles in their lives. And really, I think it is difficult to say for each person because we all can be surrounded by negative cycles, and they can look so different for all of us. And that's why I like to work individually one-on-one with people, because it's all about identifying what cycle it is that you want to break, and like what is going to help you move forward into another life, into like living a more positive life cycle that you want to be in, right? So like for me, I was in a toxic marriage, and that was really detrimental to my overall health, like my physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health, and just my overall happiness and joy, and then also just realizing that we have these things that come up. I think a lot of us forget that our humanness is so susceptible to being negative. That's something that was a big eye breaker for me, is like, oh, I'm going to baseline go towards negativity unless I purposely am living a life towards positivity. Some of us maybe have a little bit more natural positivity in our own steps, but I think a lot of life experiences or past traumas or events or just circumstances kind of tend to steer us down the path of a negative cycle. And so that's just something that I want to help other women, is to like really identify for them what success and happiness and a positive cycle looks like for them, because what something looks like for them might be different than for me, but we're all on a different journey. We're all meant to inspire self-love and know that we're loved, by a bigger power beyond just, you know, like who we are and things like that. So that's
Oh,
something that I think for me is what I'm working towards. I'm still looking for women to coach for free, just because I'm still on the building the foundation for my business here. But that's really my overall goal, is to help remind these women that no matter how difficult life can become or has gotten, or the choices that we've made in the past, like we are still able to move forward and to find success and happiness and joy, and that we deserve to live that most authentic, joyful, and passionate life that we would desire to have. So,
wow,
kind of,
that's really beautiful, Tanya. And the beautiful thing is that you're actually you're not just lecturing, helping people. You're actually also doing it yourself, whether it was through your marriage that you broke that negative cycle, or exercise, or different things that you do, that you do it. You, like everyone else, you put in the work to break those negative cycles. And I think there's something really important that you mentioned, that many times they'll say, okay, well, my negative cycle is exercise. Also, Tanya, also Jack, whatever. And then we'll say, oh, okay, well, we all have the same negative cycle. And you mentioned something really important. No, we don't. Each person, even if we think it's the same, each person experiences that negative cycle in a different way, gives a different meaning. And I think that's why it's really crucial to understand that specific person as like a specific human being and to understand their negative cycle. So I really, connect to that point that you said, because we can't compare what we have to other people, even if it seems the same. My question is,
Yeah.
why would I want to break the negative cycle? You said it bothered you, but maybe I'll say, it helps me. It keeps me safe.
Yeah, I would say that it's really dependent on if you are living the type of life you want to live. Like when I realized that I was really trapped and stuck, like I wasn't feeling joy or happiness or abundance in my life. I was really living a life of depression, anxiety, resentment, frustration, anger, and those are really altered states of consciousness. They're not the way we should be living essentially. And I think sometimes we get so stuck in that that we forget that, like it's kind of more normalized these days to say like, oh yeah, I'm on anti-anxiety pills or I'm on anti-depression pills. But like what is that really solving, right? Like don't get me wrong, some people may need that, especially during the most difficult times of life. Like I've been on them. I've been on certain different medicines, but then it's almost like you're masking yourself. You don't really feel emotions anymore. You don't really have the desire to do much stuff. And comparatively, like what I was living like before, I really kind of felt like I was living in my own personal version of hell, and when I thought like, oh, why do I feel so bad? Well, it's because I was living in this toxic negative cycle and it really took a lot of effort and work to get out of that. But like now that I am on the other side, the amount of love, joy, and abundance and like success that I feel like I'm feeling now, despite the fact that life is not perfect, because life's not perfect, life will never be perfect, like it's still exciting. I'm still enjoying life is exciting and vibrant and like I feel alive, like it's 6 in the morning over here, I'm over here ready, I'm worked out, I've done some praying, and like I'm here talking to you because like I have motivation in life again, I have passion in life again, like there is a spark inside my soul that is alive again, versus when you feel like you're almost dying, like you don't even have energy to take care of who you are anymore, and
Yeah,
that's just not really a good way to live, you know?
for sure, 100%. I think you made it really simple. So even if someone thinks that, having those negative thoughts, negative cycles continuously makes them safe, you just now said it. No, like we'll just feel life in a depressed way, and basically be a slope going down. And what I think is that, the fact that those negative thought cycles come up, it's fine. But then, we could observe them, look from the outside, like zoom out, and then, like you did, do the work and break those negative cycles. But I'm going back to what we spoke at the beginning, and I think, where you are today is beautiful, all the work you have done and where you were. And just thinking about, all type of medicines, I think the modern medicine, I'm not a doctor, but from what I read and heard, the modern medicine, so it's great for for acute circumstance. So like something is right now, we need to cure it, but it never really heals the root. So nothing against, but just to understand what does it do. It helps you right now, but if you really want to build a better life and happier life, have more well-being, so you need to take care of the root and not just cut down some trim down some branches. So
Yeah, I would agree with that.
go, going back to what you said before, and I'm specifically kind of diving deep down over here because again, all these nice theories are nice, but I want to know, what did you do when you were in those hard times of depression? Like you felt maybe some of the times that you just self-worth was really down, and like you said, didn't want to get up, didn't want to do anything, and not like today, that's 6 o'clock in the morning, you're up and running and after exercise. So what did you do when you were down there in order to basically be where you are today and be in a continuous journey? Because when we're down there, that's the hardest, Tanya. It's nice to hear these lectures, but when you're down there, you just leave me alone. I don't want to hear it. Like,
Uh, Well, it's kind of funny because these cycles, they're not always linear, right? Like healing's not like something that just happens overnight. And I actually was feeling it real down last night. I mean, I'm gonna be authentic with you. Last night I was struggling through some of my own, past dilemmas and difficulties. And I think that
Hi, I hope this video is serving you. I just want to share with you that my belief in life is that you are here to serve a purpose greater than yourself. But in order to do that the best way, you must start with investing in yourself. Enjoy the rest of the video.
that's something that we have to realize that we are human. We're gonna have these things come back up, especially when it's something you've been stuck in or part of for so long. Because, my toxic marriage was not the only problem. Like, I had already had a lot of negative cycles that were a part of that from my own persona I was before I ever entered the marriage. Um, and I think that a lot of times when we are in those bad places, we kind of are not feeling the feelings as intensely as we should. There's a lot of distraction that goes into play. Like, I was also an emotional eater, so I would emotionally eat a lot. I would kind of pretend like things were okay. I wouldn't really be my authentic self to myself. And I think that's one of the things I do now that really helped me, come to terms with things, is to realize that, like, where I was really where I was. Like, my reality that I was feeling was really the reality that I was living in. And so taking time to accept those feelings and to, like, let my body sit with that anxiety and that sadness and that depression, and to really then think about, like, what can I do to move out? Like, I was in such a dark place when I first started my journey that I started looking up YouTube stuff, like positive things and motivational things, because you think garbage is coming into your mind all the time. Like, garbage is the only thing that's going to come out of your mind. And, like, when I was starting my journey, I had no positivity left in me anymore. Like, I'm naturally more of a positive person. I feel like I do carry a naturally higher vibration than other people, but, like, everybody in my life at that time had become a negative, toxic person in some ways. And so realizing that, like, that I needed positivity in my life and seeking it out, like they say, you have to guard the gates of your mind. Like, that was something that I had to really sit down and, like, look into. And sometimes it was as easy as, like, motivation YouTube, and then, like, picking a video that looked right, or listening to, like, an online sermon, or just somebody that was, like, inspiring in life, like Tony Robbins, or Mel Robbins, or Brendan Burchard. Just listening to, like, these people that have turned around, like, that are inspiring the world, essentially, because sometimes even the people around us are sucking us in. And then, like, once you're able to kind of have a break from the negativity, you can start to really think about, what is it that I want? Like, is this positive is helping me to have a break from the negative, but, like, is that negative that I'm in something that I really want to stay in now? And then really just bringing yourself into the awareness of the negativity and what's causing you to stay in those patterns. And then trying to remember, like, we have the control in our lives to do whatever we need for us. And I think previously I was so in a place of, like, oh, well, I can't do this, say this, do or want this, because my spouse does not want this, want that, or do that. Or people around me, like my friends at the time, or like love people I loved, would be, like, telling me how I should be living my life. And I really was in this really disconnected phase of life where I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I needed. I was looking for validation outside of everyone besides myself. And so for me, really, like, meditation and prayer and growing my spirituality again has helped me to kind of settle that seeking for validation outside of myself, right? Like, this lack of self-love that I was experiencing during all of this time, I didn't even realize I was going through until all of a sudden one day I was like, wow, I need to work on this. And by taking those small steps of loving myself for where I was really what led me to this journey that I am now on, and trying to help other women. Because, like I said, it's a lonely path if you think that you are alone, which it's not that we're alone, we're just by ourselves. So That's kind of
Wow.
where I was. And as to where yesterday, last night, I was feeling all that sadness and the sorrow of like, oh, like I'm divorced. I never wanted to be divorced. Like the spiritual warfare inside of me is still something I'm working through and towards, thinking of like I would like to someday remarry and like to someday have more family added, more children added. And like that's just something that I know is like part of the past and part of like the current. And so, I mean, I gave myself permission to be sad last night and like I cried and I felt my feelings and like that's okay because at least I got to be my authentic self and to feel those feelings instead of pushing them down or like, like hiding them under the rug. And today is a whole new day and I gave myself permission to feel what I needed to, and today I'm now living in my purpose again, remembering that like that is a part of my past, it's part of my story, but it's not gonna hold me back, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna be stuck there anymore, um because it's a new
Okay.
day and I want to live a good life and I want to be happy and joyful and enjoy life. So
For sure, I totally connect to what you said. I think even Tanya, not only that it won't, hold you back, you could take that message and take, there's a famous saying, turn your mess into your message and even help you grow. And I really love what you just now shared. You shared a lot, and I recommend people to listen to it again. But your authenticity, okay? The fact that you say, hey, I had a moment like that last night. And it's not that you're done with the journey. And as my grandmother always tells me, yeah, we're in the university of life until we die. So we're always on the journey, and it's not. I don't think that there's a day that okay, there are no more times like that. But with time, when we work on ourselves more, so we build and we create a bigger toolbox that gives us more tools in order. So maybe in the past you would have stayed in this type of sadness and kind of down feeling for a week, a month, a year, whatever. And today, okay, you have the tools to wake up, like you build for yourself tools to get out of it faster. Maybe next time will be more or less, but the point is first, like you said, like being authentic with ourselves is so important because sometimes we try to like build around ourselves like this image that we're not, and that understanding, okay, life is a journey, perfect, basically. There's the famous song, love all your perfect imperfections. I think perfect is understanding that the path of life has many obstacles in its way, and when we accept them, like you said, only then we could move forward. There's a saying of Brené Brown, in order to heal you need to feel. So the fact that we need to first, okay, accept this is where we are. Don't put it like under the rug. We're here. Feel it. Dive deep inside. Then we could, if we want, we could zoom outside and think if we want to connect or not, to in order to continue. But like you said just 2 minutes ago, does it serve us? Yes or no? Usually not. So all of those points are really important. But like being authentic first with ourselves, nothing to do with other people, is so crucial in accepting. And I think actually you said we were in control. I personally think that we're not in control of the outcome. We're in control of our effort. So acting out of a place of surrender. Okay, we know
mhm.
or we don't know, but we think we know where we want to go. So let's do that next step. And then that next step, but out of a place of surrender that we don't know what will be the outcome, we could aim there, but what would finally happen, we don't know. But like you mentioned before, when we build those tools of self-love and not depending on other people, so we have like really great tools in order to not only to deal with anything that comes in life, also to grow from it like you're doing right now, which is it's really really beautiful. So I appreciate you
Thank you.
for sharing that. And if people want to connect with you, you work mainly with women.
Yes. I do mostly work with women right now. I'm on pretty much all the platforms on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Inspire Self Love. I think Instagram, I have two spaces between Inspire and Self Love.
Well,
And then,
you could send me the links and I'll put them below, and
okay, yeah,
people will be able to contact you. And
yeah.
sometimes people, you said self-love and people will say, oh, he's self-love, whatever. But something like, sometimes the first they could think whatever they want, it's fine, it's theirs. But I was one of those people. And then you realize that, and it took me a long time in my relationships to understand that we could only connect to a person, to a human being, to the level that we're connected to ourselves. So they could love us, but if we're not connected to ourselves and we don't love ourselves, we can't give out to the world more of the beauty that we have in ourselves because we don't love ourselves. So we can't see all the beauty that is there. So what you're doing
Exactly.
is really crucial, and I'm sure you're helping many people and will help many more. And I really appreciate you for that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me and for talking with me this morning. It's always a pleasure.
For sure. For sure. I really appreciate, the beautiful work you bring to the world. And like I said, we'll leave the links below. People can connect with you, and we'll be in touch. Have a beautiful morning over there.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
I hope you enjoyed the video and you got some tools to overcome your challenges and light your path. For us to help other people, please press that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget that the most amazing things in life are the one you take for granted.